Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is a world premiere.
Great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. Absolutely. It's time for the Culture Call with your boy right here, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM, your inspiration station. And I'm telling you, this is the place. That's right, where Tuscaloosa meets the world. And for the next 2 hours, you know how we do it. From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit, about everything. That's right, from society to sports, education to economics, and definitely from religion to relationships. And as always, y'all, we are here to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, sometimes controversial conversations, right? And guess what? You can call in or chat it up with me as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. I say that every morning. That's right. This is the place where we learn. First of all, I want to send a shout out to all of you who are our first-time listeners, all of you who are new to the CC family. That's right. You just were driving through the city and somebody told you to turn on Praise 93.3. Yeah, and now you are here. We want to welcome you to the CC family. That's exactly what we are. We are our family. Listen, we talk a little bit about everything, and we're going to have an amazing day today. There's so much to talk about. So, hey, guess what? We are so glad that you are here. And definitely to those of you who are my consistent listeners. That's right. Thank you for making us the number one talk show in West Alabama. I am grateful for that you all hang out with me every day from 10 to 12. That's right. And we are making those numbers go up. Yeah, making those ratings go up. And we are building our community. And as always, last but not least, I want to give a big, amazing shout out to the inimitable, the awesome Brother Jay that leads us into the 10 a.m. hour. That's right. From 5 a.m. and he passes that baton. Yeah, that revival hot baton to me every day. And he says, hey, run on. Yep. And I'm going to run on to see what the end's going to be. We've got a lot to talk about, but definitely want to take time to honor and respect Brother Jay. Always. Listen, if you've got a smart device, I say this every morning, just in case if you don't have one. Yeah. If you have, you don't have your device, or if you have it around, go and grab it, get it. Make sure you go to the download, the app section. That's it. The app section on your phone, and download Praise 93.3 FM. We have a free 99 app there, and you can listen to us everywhere you go, every time that we are on. That's right. Go ahead and download it. And so no matter how you're traveling, maybe you're sitting at your desk, maybe you're on your lunch break and everything, hey, or early lunch maybe, because we end at 12 o'clock, right? But maybe you're on your early lunch, or you're doing something where you can kind of pop in your earphones, your earpods, and listen to the show. Definitely do that. We'll be so very glad that you did. Whether you're in Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, yeah, let's go to the West Coast, L.A., that's right, Dallas, Texas, or you might be in Miami, Florida, and definitely right here in Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, Birmingham, Mobile, and Huntsville, Utah, Reform, Gordo, Bowler G, doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, from the city to the sticks, you can listen to us every day if you have that app. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Might be washing clothes. Yeah. Take a listen. Take a big listen. Make sure you do that. Listen, been encouraging you. Listen, we are in Easter season. We are in resurrection season. So check it out. Go ahead and send me your public service announcements. Maybe you got an early Easter sunrise, or maybe you have a Good Friday service. That's right. A Good Friday service. Doesn't matter what you are doing. Go ahead and send it to me. Let us know what's happening at your church, your organization, your fraternity, your sorority, whether you're an artist getting ready to have a recording, yeah, or a preacher getting ready to have a revival. We want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what is going on in your neck of the woods, and how put some faces in the place, right? And let you know exactly how important the work that you are doing in our community goes. You know why? Because we do it better when we do it together. Listen, write down the golden number. It's 205-752-4800, 205-752-4800. Oh, and you can call into the show if you have something to say, you want to add something on. I know many people are like, well, I don't want my voice to be on. Who are you running from? Nobody's going to know who you are. We don't normally take names like that on the radio. We just kind of let you talk. Absolutely. Or maybe you want to hit me up on the chat. The app feature has the app has the chat feature on it. And you can send me a chat message, and I'll read it on the air. That's right. I'll read it. You want your voice on? Don't worry about it. I'll use my voice with your words and let everybody know what you're thinking about the topic. Maybe you just need to hit me up and tell me how I'm doing. Maybe I'm stinking up the joint. Maybe I'm doing a great job. Whatever it is, we want to hear from you. Many of you say, Bishop, I missed past episodes of the Culture Call. Don't even worry about it. We made it portable just for you. Go to Apple Podcasts and type in Culture Call. Leave out the article, type in Culture Call. There you're going to see my face. And every day after we get off air, guess what? You can go back and listen to the broadcast and make sure that you stay up and stay in tune with us. Yeah. I've been out of the studio live for quite a bit. Yeah, doing a whole lot. I've been preaching revivals and doing things of that nature. But I've got some days now. I'm a little bit off the road now, taking a little hiatus from traveling. Listen, I was traveling this past week, saints and different ones. Through that storm we had on Friday. Oh my goodness. Listen. And so it cleared Birmingham, y'all. It cleared Birmingham, but then the storm was going toward Atlanta. And of course I fly Delta. So you have to have a layover in Atlanta. Baby, when we got to landing in Atlanta, I was like, oh, Holy Ghost. I know what the ark felt like in the flood. Let me tell you something. That plane was shaking so much. I was calling Jesus. My goodness, I'm telling you, it was something that turbulence was something. And so, listen, I'm always glad and grateful for safe travel. It's a blessing. And most of all, I am glad to be home. I'm glad to be in place and definitely glad to be here with you on the Culture Call live and in living color. So do me a favor, sit back and relax, grab you some coffee. You know how we do it here, Maxwell House or Starbucks. Or maybe coffee is not your thing. Get you some herbal tea. If you're trying to calm down, get you some chamomile. If you're trying to spur up, get you some green tea. Get a little caffeine kick. And always get you some alkaline water. That's the water with the black label. My favorite is Essentia. That's right. Detox that body. Y'all know some of y'all ate too much sweet potato pie and pound cake and all that stuff. Yeah, go ahead and get that out your body. Get those cells rejuvenated. And let's get into the culture. Listen, y'all, there's a lot going on. And I don't mean to gossip, because this ain't gossip, because it's already on the news. I'm telling you, I hope you all are paying attention to this political season. Yes, I hope you all are paying attention to what's happening in your locality. Right here for me, it's Tuscaloosa. It may be wherever you live. Pay attention to your local elections. Pay attention to your state, what's going on in the state. That's right. Doesn't matter where you are. And definitely pay attention to what's happening in the federal election. 2024 is an election year. And a lot of Congress changes, a lot of the Senate changes, and definitely the seat of the presidency changes. And if you are not paying attention and you are late, last, and lost, I'm telling you, let me say this to you, and it segues into what we're going to be talking about today, which is building a moral community. That's what we're going to talk about this day in March. We're going to talk about building a moral community. Does morality and ethics even mean anything anymore? We're dealing right now, just looking in the face of a tremendous international security risk. One of the candidates that's running for president has been adjudicated and found guilty of fraud. Right? Fraud. That's right. Fraud. That's and they have to pay $454 million plus interest. So that's about $500 million, $500 million, of which they don't have it. They are coming off of the cuff of having to pay at least $91 million because they were found guilty of rape and sexual abuse. All of that. They were already done that. And they can't find, they had somebody to back that up. You have to have an insurance company. When you don't want to pay money out of your own pocket, then you have to find an insurance company. And they found an insurance company. But they have tried 30-plus insurance companies to find surety to back up y'all a $500,000 payment for fraud and wire fraud and all those different kinds of things that they were found guilty. Now, you say to me, well, how is that a international security fraud? International security risk. Let me tell you how. Well, because now you are at the risk or at the mercy of the highest bidder. In other words, whoever puts up that money, you owe them something. Ain't nobody, y'all know how this works. Ain't nobody gonna put up $500 million, right? My goodness, that's billion with a B, y'all. $500 million, and you not owe them something, right? So Russia could easily do it. China could easily do it. And all of these other autocrats all over the world, these wannabe dictators all over the world that find dictatorship in their country can put you and, loan you the money. But this is what you have to do. You have to subvert democracy, subvert government. Give us your secret information about weapons, about, wars and kind of conflicts. And so that person is a tremendous national security risk. Now, push pause. Here is the problem. I don't understand why half of America can't even see that. Half of America cannot not even see that because this person has almost half Americans. I don't think it's that much anymore. I think people have become elucidated and clued in to that kind to his kind of con mannery, right? I think people understand it now. They're getting there. And you're doing everything to subvert all of the trials. See, now criminal trials are coming up now. I think he has one more civil trial in New York, but the criminal trials, the election trials, the documents, the secret document trials are about to come up, right? And those are criminal things, which means time in jail. So you're doing everything to delay that, right? Now, you have to hear me. Hear me when I say this. Innocent people want it to go to trial. I want it to go to trial as swiftly as I possibly can because I want to prove my innocence. Regardless if this is an election year, it's better for me if it goes fast and I'm innocent in an election year because now I can show that everybody that has brought these indictments against me were absolutely wrong, were absolutely incorrect, right? If we go ahead and have that trial now. But they're delaying and they're stalling. The judges that they have appointed, especially down in the 11th Circuit, Judge Cannon, she's doing everything she can to subvert the special prosecutor appointed by the Attorney General. She's doing everything she can do to overturn or to stop that particular secret documents trial, right? She classified documents trial. That's what it is, classified. She's doing everything she can. And, of course, she's running the risk of being taken off the case because if the special prosecutor, and she has no legal standing, it is clear that she's playing favorites, right? Even Supreme Court that has not even adjudicated. It's supposed to come next month in April, I believe April 26th or 25th, to where they adjudicate whether this man has presidential immunity, that he can do anything he wants as the president. Now, you have to be careful of that because if they say, yes, a president has immunity, well, guess what? You are not the president now. There is another president, right? And so that means anything that he does is under presidential immunity, right? And so then the current president can do anything he wants to do. He can lock you up. He can do whatever he wants with no adjudication and no infraction upon him. Now, we who are of common sense people believe that they will side on they will come on the side or decide on the what the Constitution says, that the president does not have immunity, does not have. But again, one of the justices, hear me now, because it's all a part of a narrative. One of the justices his wife was a part of planning January 6th insurrection. So, but he has not recused himself. You got it? He has not recused himself. So he's adjudicating on the matter. And then you have 3 other justices that you appointed to be on the Supreme Court who, by the bar and all of the legal standards of what a judge ought to be, these people didn't even merit being on the Supreme Court. You just had the Senate at the time, and they approved these people. So the courts are stacked, right, in the conservative favor. I'm not going to say in his favor, right? And when you look at all of these things going on, you have to stop and ask yourself, do we have a moral society anymore? Do people believe in right or wrong, or do they just believe in power and control? Because when you just believe in power and control, Culture Call, that is a recipe for destroying nations, destroying countries, destroying communities and civilizations. Doesn't matter what color, black, white, red, yellow, doesn't matter what ethnicity. When you have people who are so cravenous and so hungry for power and hungry for position and hungry for control, not only do they do bad things, they don't even consciously think that they're functioning in evil. They will create narratives and deceptions and lie to people to make them vote and put them in power. And then you got to understand, now hear me, I'm not calling the people that support and that ignore and support, because there are people who say they are Christians that support that blindly. There are people who are not Christians, but they are, there's this book called Southern Rural Rage, right? White rural rage, right? Rural, that RURAL, right? Right. So, right. And there's an angst of people that are still upset. Listen to y'all. Watch this. They're still upset in the South about the Civil War. And what they are upset about? Glad that you asked. They are upset that this country has given the slaves, the former slaves, the enslaved, equal rights, that they lost slaves. And since they have lost slaves and control over black people, right? Since they lost that, the economy of the South has not been what it was prior to the Civil War. That in this country, the economy of the South was the boom, right? And then the Civil War happened, and Ulysses S. Grant and Sherman overthrew Robert E. Lee and all of the Confederate states, right? And since then, because remember, Abraham Lincoln, let me go ahead and put this here. Abraham Lincoln did not create the Emancipation Proclamation because he felt like black people were on the same level of white people. That's not what he did. He believed in white superiority, but he was trying to what? Protect the Union. Protect the Union. He was trying to keep the country together. And so part of that keeping the country together, yes, was in some sort freeing the slaves. And even when he wrote that, the slaves weren't free in Texas because it took them a while for that message to get to Texas, which is why we have Juneteenth, which is when all slaves in the country were free, right? But then they went on in the southern states to develop, and really not just southern states, but even the Midwestern states in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, they went and developed this whole thing about the Ku Klux Klan, and then they had this whole thing in the South about Jim Crow, not trying to help us, not trying to make us vote or allow us to vote with regards to poll tax, right? This country has always had an issue. Here's what I'm saying, has always had an issue of deciphering what is moral, right from wrong. That they would, watch this, historically leave out of church from a worship service and go and lynch somebody and burn them in the community. And all of them would leave church. As a matter of fact, it was a part of their worship. So this country has always struggled with morality, with being able to see what is right from wrong, light from dark, what the scripture says holy and what is what? Unholy. It has always been a struggle because when people want power, when people want to protect their hierarchies, when people want to protect their monies, when people want to protect their property and all of this, right, they will conjure up fear, because fear will make you give up your rights to another individual because you believe that individual is going to protect you from what you're fearing. But guess what? You're only fearing that thing because they brought it up. It's not like what they were saying was actually real, right? But so now you see that, one of the candidates for president talking about the immigrants are contaminating the blood of our country. Wait a minute. Hold on. And when I see black folks, when I see us, yeah, you sure right. I have to think about you. We were once the folks that they were saying poisoning our community, poisoning the country when we got our freedom, right? We were once those people who are coming over borders, and we were not immigrants. We have never been immigrants. Those of us in this country that were brought over, who our ancestors were brought over from Africa, we were immigrants. We were slaves. We were enslaved. I have a particular aversion to that word slave. We were enslaved because you're not a slave until you begin to agree with your enslavement. Right? You can be enslaved and not agree with your slavery, right? With your captivity, with your bondage, right? And for the bulk in the multitude, most of our ancestors were not in agreement with slavery. They were victims of it. So they were not slaves. They were enslaved. They enslaved the body, but their minds transcended slavery. They knew that this thing was wrong, right? But we've struggled in this country, and even now, it has trickled even into our communities that we're having a difficult issue of talking about what is right and what is wrong. One of the things that the text tells us is that in every generation, when we get generations away, when we become affluent, when we get a lot of money, a lot of wealth, we start things well to do, then we abandon faith and we latch on to finances, we latch on to money, and it's how much now we're grinding, and we're trying to make a name for ourselves, and we're trying to get on platforms. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you working and making sure that your purpose comes to pass. But when it doesn't matter who you hurt, and when it doesn't matter who you step on, and when it doesn't matter who's in control, that you will allow the corrupt to be in control if it benefits just you and your pocketbook, right? The text says that everybody will start doing what? What is right in their own eyes, right? Now, be patient with me today because I'm not trying to preach at all. I'm just trying to give you an understanding of what our world looks like now and what decisions we need to make as a people, as a community, as an individual, and even as in a country and a world. What kind of people will we be? What kind of people will we become in the future? What kind of country? What kind of institutions, organizations? What kind of churches are we leaving for our great-grandchildren? Right? That's right. That's right. What kind of organizations are we leaving? What kind of democracy? What kind of thought patterns are we leaving for our children's children? Because they will inherit that. According to the text, whatever we leave, they inherit that. And we are in a tremendous crossroads right now. Robert Frost says 2 roads diverge in a yellow woods. Right? We are definitely in a place where we can go right or left. And depending on which way we go with regards to our morality, that's the kind of country that we will have. That's the kind of future that we will leave our children. And I don't want to sound dystopian, but I've got to tell you the facts. We must start thinking about what are we doing and what will we allow? What will we allow, right? Is control that important? Is power that important? And see, when you put people who are insecure and don't know who they are and have no moral arc, no moral compass in their lives, if you allow those people to be in power, if you give them any kind of authority from the pulpit from the pastor to the politician, right? If you give that person any level of authority, the greatest fear now is losing that authority. I will do anything to keep that kind of power, right? When you give someone who is ignorant and uneducated and they don't have a moral base, listen to me, and notice I didn't say a Christian base, because now we're living in a time where people are calling themselves Christian, but they're not functioning like Christ would. They're not attributing, or their attitudes are not aligning with what Christ would do. We're living in that kind of world now. So, it's this whole idea. They'll use the Bible, they'll use the Holy Scripture, right, to subjugate, to cause pain to people who they think is the hindrance to their own life. No, what it is your lack of morality. It is your lack of ability to see humanity in the image of God, each and every person. That, no, you are white, but you are not superior to me. No, you are black, but you're not superior to anybody else. You're Hispanic, but you're not. That whole idea of superiority is the thing that is controlling, and that superiority is sitting on the foundation of insecurity. Culture call. We have an insecure humanity going on. The reason why you're up all night spouting, the former president up all night on his platform, Truth Social, he's not even going to sleep. And when you lack sleep, you lack sobriety, you lack a good sanity. He's not going to sleep. He's texting all night, posting all night, posting about what's wrong and who's attacking him, right? All night. So you got to know that if he's not slept any, that when he gets up to talk to people, he's going to be a tad bit, out of sorts. Because you know how you and I are, when we don't get adequate sleep. But you're up all night, 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Go to sleep, sir. You're 77 years old. Go to sleep, right? Get you some rest. But because that power and that control, and watch this, y'all, that foundation of insecurity is causing him to, hey, I'm going to grasp for straws, because at the end of the day, I cannot lose power. I cannot lose control. And I've got to create a group of people that fear. Back in 2016, actually it was 2015, I stood up in the pulpit on one Sunday right before I preached, and I got a download from heaven. And I told the folks that if this person gets into office in 2015, I said, if he gets into office, there will be a release of fear in this country and in this world that we have never seen before. And then I coupled it with the epistle from John, the text where he said, fear has torment. Perfect love casts out fear. Fear has torment. And then I told them that God has not given us the spirit of fear. And that is what people who lack morality, they lack ethical behavior. All they use is fear, trying to get you to be afraid of something or somebody, right? And when you allow fear to take control over your life, you will start losing your sense of what is right and what is wrong. Yes, when you start fearing the black man, fearing the white man, fearing the Hispanic man, fearing the Asian man, when you start fearing the Native Americans, fearing that person who doesn't live like you, who doesn't look like you, whose lifestyle is not aligned to yours, when you stop fearing, you enter into a phobic state, a fearful state, and it begins to control your mind. Right? And it will knock you off of your moral center, And we've got to begin in this country, beginning with our own individual selves, to reclaim our morality. Yeah, there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end is destruction. And we will fear ourselves right into destruction because we lack a moral compass. And so we're going to talk about building a moral community today. Yeah, we're going to talk about that and see how we can, at least in our communities, get back on track of showing honor and dignity to each other. Listen, this is the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3. I got a little thing to do. That's right. I got some more to talk about. We got a whole lot to talk about, but I need you to keep it right here. Don't miss it.
This is a
are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM, and we are having a conversation today. One of my boys about conversation. We are having a conversation today about morality, building a moral community. And as many churches as we have on every corner in our community, we should be a moral kind of people. As many churches and denominations and religions as we have in this country, listen, we ought to always be at the altar. There should always be revival breaking out somewhere. But somehow we replaced a morality and ethics and a true faith in humanity that can see humanity as valuable and worth something. Because guess what? We've lost that, even though we go to church. See, because religion does not fix this problem. Being a good Baptist, a good Methodist, a good Pentecostal does not fix the moral issue. No. The moral development of a civilization is measured by the breadth of its sense of community. Yeah. Anatole Rappaport said that the moral development of a civilization is measured by the breadth of its sense of community. In other words, if I don't see you as valuable, if I can't look at the person sitting next to me and see them worth God's image, or not worth, but see them as God's image in the world, in the earth. If I cannot see that, if I can't see that within them, if I cannot see the precious context of life and breath inside of them, then already I am a victim of moral decline, right? And I think if you can hear me and don't get offended, when I say this, but sometimes even our church and how we preach it, how we preach the context of what salvation and right and wrong, holy and unholy, we made people targets. We made people targets to where we can talk about them, that we can strip them of dignity, even in our language, in our elocution, in our preaching, and in the way that we deliver our homilies of every time that we stand up. Everything that we teach is always, it can have a tinge, not always, but have a tinge perpetually of anti-somebody, anti-this, the drunks, the prostitutes, right? What we consider to be sexually deviant, the robber, the stealer, the liar, the one that's the infidel, right? The one that's the adulterer, right? And so when we begin to describe people and label them as such, not just by what they're doing. Yes, adultery is a sin, and lying is a sin, right? All those different, stealing is a sin, right? Those are the things, those, if we can say that those spirits, if I can say that, are those behaviors, are the things that Christ would be against. But the individual, the person, the moment you say adulterer, liar, stealer, the moment that you label the individual, already you're placing yourself in a particular place of superiority. You're creating a hierarchy. What you're saying, because that's not me, and I don't do what you do, and I don't look like how you look, right? Right now, we call the people by their state, and they are by their state in life, right? So homelessness is the state, but we've made enemies of the homeless, as if they just want to be homeless, right? And so there are people in cities right now protesting, get them off the streets. Where are they going? Where are they going? But we've made them an enemy, and we've made cleaning up the streets the most important thing, when the street is the only home that they have. And they should never be the homeless. And I'm just using that as one example, right? But we create hierarchies and how do we do that? We start labeling people, right? The woman that was caught in the act of adultery, right? That the thing that I like about the text is that they never call her an adulteress in the text. It's always the woman. So they still keep her humanity, but they talk about her behavior. But the people that drug her out of the house naked, because they said the very act, that means that she was in the throes. Now, where the dude was, why he ain't in the street naked, I don't know. Let's not even go there. But that also is a sense of morality. That also is a sense of ethics. And one of the first things that Jesus did was cover her, that he restored her dignity. Because you can't ever get anyone delivered and or developed if you rob or raid their dignity, because their dignity speaks to the worth of their humanity, right? And so a lot of times we preach it in church, and we we say it, and we contextualize it as if we are more righteous or more right than other people, right? And because I don't go to white churches, I've been in black church all of my life, literally. I am a church boy all of my life, and I heard how they were preaching. I heard the words, and I can even hear it now, even as I'm on the air. They begin to label certain people, and when you begin to label certain people, you don't treat those people morally. Why? Because in your mind, they are beneath me. They are ranked sinners on their way to what we used to call in the Pentecostal church a burning hell, right? That we add that, we put all that, we put all those labels and those nomenclatures, and we begin to treat them like lesser. And the only way that they regain their value, watch this, not to God, but in our eyes, is when they come to church and they get before the altar and they go through the religious rituals that we tell them to go through, right? Right, because a lot of that stuff that we do are our own community rituals in our own denominations and our own churches. It's nothing salvific a part of it. We connected it to the saving process. But the text says, if any man would confess with his mouth and believe in his heart, that is the measure of salvation. That is the measure of salvation, right? That is the restoration of them. Watch this. And Jesus said, I didn't come to condemn the world, but to through the world, through him, that they might be saved. John, I think that's John 3:17, right? Because we like John 3:16, for God so loved the world. But we don't love the world, right? We get on this soapbox and they're going to hell. They're going to hell. But who are we? Who are we? Paul, in this Pauline dialectic, Paul begins to say, such were some of you, but God, right? That when we look at people from just the context of what they're doing, we have no clue about their journey. We have no clue about their struggle. We have no clue about how life has taken a turn on them. And this is all they have. This is all they're doing right now. This is all they're able to do right now. We have to begin to see ourselves in their place. That's the first part about being moral, not being religious. I'm grateful that those of you who are listening to me, if you are Christians, right? I'm grateful. But here it is. As a Christian, as Christians, we are held to a higher sense of humanity, a higher sense of godliness and divinity, right? To do as Christ would. He went about in cities and highways healing people, and the act says that he went about doing good, not went about pointing out folks, pointing out their struggles, and so that you can feel superior in your three-piece suit or your white hat and your white dress and your legs crossed at the ankles when you come to church. Because you sing your hymns and because you lift your hands, it doesn't make you any different than anyone else. Life can happen to you, and what you said you never go back to, or what you'll never do, you will find yourself. If it's not but for the grace of God, you will find yourself in a place that will be like, my goodness, how did I get here? And so it's important that, and we're only talking about in our community, but all in every community, white communities, black communities, Hispanic communities, Asian communities, humans suffer with this moral question. They suffer from this whole idea of how should I treat my brother and my sister. Matter of fact, who is my brother and my sister? You know, who are the ones that we should, watch this, as if we should treat anybody wrong and less than human, less than one that God has created. Right? Yes, we all transgress. Romans says we all have sinned and fallen short. That's what the book says, right? But and if that is the case, one of the things that a salvific relationship is supposed to do is to restore your righteous mind, right? In other words, your issue of transgression or doing wrong is an issue of mind. In other words, let me say this again. Morality is an issue of mind. Repeat, back up, say it again. Morality is an issue of the mind, right? Here's what the text says. And again, I ain't trying to be preachy, but I'm trying to give you a foundation, right? I'm giving you a foundation of how we ought to think, how we ought to do, right? Romans 12:2 says, be not conformed to this world, right? Don't think and act like the world would act, or people who have no kind of moral, ethical restraint or parameter, but be changed, right? Evidence of change is in what? By the renewing of your mind. Connected. There is no change if the mind is not renewed. Try it one more time. There is no change until the mind is renewed. What changes in the mind changes in time. Morality, yes, it begins with a spiritual aspect, but it works in the mind because your mind is where your habits are. It's where your attitudes are. It's where your perspectives and your perceptions are, right? That you can't really display what you need to display and have a change of life until your mind changes. Right? And so we have to ask the question, Culture Call, what is wrong with the folks' mind? What's wrong with our minds? What has happened to us that we refuse to live moral? What we refusing to live and treat each other by what the text calls and what we've been saying is the golden rule, to love God with your everything. And he says the second is like this. The second is like the first. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. We are struggling in this world with loving our neighbor. I want to say that again. I want to say that one more again. We are struggling in the world with loving our neighbor, right? The act from the very foundation of this country. This country was founded out of an act, watch this, of freedom for some, but not for all. There was hatred, the blood and the fingerprint of hatred on their quest for liberation from England. That's right. They enslaved people. They killed. They did an ethnic cleansing, genocide, in the name of establishing freedom. So blood has always been on the fingerprint, on the garments of those founders of this country. And we keep perpetuating that because no one is calling us to a sense of higher being. I want to say that again. That morality calls us to a sense of higher being. Drugs and gunfighting and territorialism, gang warfare, poverty is because we are struggling with morality. Absolutely. We're struggling with morality. We can be the richest country in the world, but there are people that are hungry. There are people right now in the South that's voted on. There's people who we allow to go to our state houses, right? Has already voted on. Well, these children, it's not our responsibility to feed children that come to school hungry. It's not our responsibility to do that because we don't know if feeding them even improves their grades. Well, excuse me, according to your cognitive theory and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if those particular basic needs are not met, that we've already discovered this. We learned this in educational psychology. Yes. If those basic needs of a child is not hurt, they can't learn if they're hungry, if their stomach is growling, if they're thirsty, if they're not clothed properly, if they're not attended to well, if they have no support system at home. But our morality says, well, we don't have to feed them. Let's cut the budget and not feed the children, but let's increase the budget and buy more guns. Let's give more guns to the policemen. that can put the children who might rob a store or who might try to find something to eat in a store. Let's use policemen with more guns to put those children in juvenile facilities or in jail. And in this country, that's moral. No, no. When capitalism in and of itself is not a moral engine. That the more capitalism and the thirst for money, and we all need money. I understand money answers all things. I understand what it says. Absolutely. I get all of that. But when people start being hungry, money hungry, here's what it says. The text says the love of money is what? The root of all evil. Follow the money. Follow the money and you will find the evil. Y'all don't, Culture Call. Follow the money and you will find the evil. When people are trying to use, right now, some billionaires like, oh, I'm going to vote for this guy. Because you know what? Because the other guy is too old. But what? They're 2 or 3 years apart. Right? So, yeah. And only one of them are showing signs of cognitive decline. And when we got as much pressure as running an entire country and being the most powerful person in the world, you might forget some facts. None of us have ever had that kind of pressure on our shoulders, right? So there might be some moral decline there. There might be some mental, I may not remember every fact, right? Right? But he says, I'm going to vote because, but he's trying to protect his tax cuts because he already knows when one candidate gets in, he's going to cut the taxes again and put this country further in deficit. That is not moral. It is not. It is not. We've got to be careful. And I'm going to talk about this more in the second half. We got to be careful how we allow our passions for money and our passions to be rich and wealthy, how it controls us. We got to make sure and tell ourselves the truth. Are we so in love with money, positions, and power that it doesn't matter how we get it? Because to some people, it just doesn't matter. And they'll step on their mama to make more money. And that, my brothers and my sisters, is not moral. Listen, this is the Culture Call with yours truly, Bishop L. Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM, your inspiration station. Keep it right here. There's more to come. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back. It's the top of the hour right here on Praise 93.3, the Culture Call, 11 a.m. and some change with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Right here on the Culture Call. And we have been having a wonderful day, an amazing day. It's a beautiful morning, I'm telling you. And we are in our second hour. Yeah, second hour. My goodness, time is flying when we're having fun. Want to welcome all of you who are just joining us at this 11 o'clock hour. Welcome to the Culture Call. We've been having an amazing conversation about building a moral community and making sure that we are really understanding what our obligations and responsibilities as humans, good humans are, And I think it's very important for us to have that conversation because the world that we leave today, our children will inherit it. Let me say that again. That the world that we leave here today, beloved, our children will inherit it. And the question is, we say that this is a democracy, but no, it's a representative kind of republic. That means that we send people into various places who make rules and laws and legislation and all of that. And it's reflective of they are able to create on our behalf, so they say. And what we're finding out is that that's not what this country really looks like, and it's not really what it's based off. That we have a problem with morality and money. Let me say that again. We've got an issue with morality in money, right? Because the third thing that people don't ever want to be is poor, right? And poor is above sick and dead, right? Poor is above sick and dead. So there we have it. Number one, I don't want to be dead. Number two, I don't want to be sick. And number three, I don't want to be poor. And it is how we have constructed a framework of mind and how we view people. I know the text says that the poor you will have with you always, right? But when we look at how that they begin to solve that problem, it begins in the scriptures. Let me segue in and take a path through that avenue, right? The way that we do that we solve that problem is those that have, we begin to share. We begin to give, right? That I can't see a person that needs a cup of water and don't get them some water. I can't see a person, or I'm not supposed to see someone that is hungry and not be sensitive and urged within myself to give them any food. That the homeless people that should not be homeless, because if they're homeless, we should be able to come together and find them housing, right? And so what the text does, it appeals to the inner nature. It appeals to the inner thing inside of us, right? That has been given to us by God to help each other out, right? That we should not see things going on around us and let it just go on. I'm every time I pass someone that is homeless, everyone that I pass that looks like they're in an indigent or a place of poverty, my heart goes out to them, and I'm like, Lord, give me more money. Because if I had more money, I would stop and break them off take them to get something to eat, some clothes, or something. And when we can't do that, or better yet, when we ignore that part in our lives, our morality begins to decrease, right? That when the apex of our humanity is us riding around in a jet, in a Mercedes, in a BMW, in a Rolls Royce, when that becomes the framework of our minds, right? And we do that and ignore the existential realities of people, that every person is not doing as well as we are, and we ignore that as if they are trouble, if they are vermin, they are the problem. It decreases something conscientiously in us. It causes us to morally decline, causes us to enter into moral decline, right? That thing inside of us, we begin to ignore it, because all I want is what I want. Now, you want a jet and it ain't got nowhere to go. You want a jet, and what is your itinerary, right? You want this, and you want a jet because sometimes, for your convenience, because that's what a jet does, because it gets you from here to there, and you don't have to go through security, you don't have to go through lines and all that. And yes, there are many people who have jets, and I'm not mad at them. I used to want a jet. I used to want one because I wanted to get home to my wife and my children, as opposed to staying in a hotel, as opposed to not being home. I wanted to be back at my church on Sunday morning so I could be with my people, with the people that God has given to me, right? To pastor. Yeah. But I don't want that, and somebody in my congregation or in my community or my family is struggling. That can't be the apex of human living. But in this country, that's how we've made it, right? It's amazing. We'll take the people's boots, right? Not only not give them boots, but we'll take the boots that they do have and then ask why they're not walking in their boots. And that's what this whole even American dream kind of is. If you're not careful, it is steeped in capitalism. It is steeped in how much money you make. But what are we doing with that money? Well, how are we helping one another? How are we doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C? Week to week, I talk to pastors and I talk to leaders who, we have to think about not just the mortgage of our own family and the mortgage of the church, but we also have to think about the mortgage of our parishioners, right? And people think that, you see a lot of people, that means a lot of money. No, a lot of people are coming because they heard you got a lot of money. Y'all raised a lot of money in that church. And so a lot of those people are benevolence cases. They need something. They need some help. And then, some people, as one of my financial friends She's an amazing financial advisor. She said there are people who are professional panhandlers. They come around and they just they come to the church and they sit there and they watch the offering. They see how much you give. They see what you have. They see what people drive. And they come there and they sit there. And then one day they're going to ask for XYZ. I need this to be paid. I need this to be paid. Because they're thinking that you don't have policies and procedures in place where you're going to just give them cash or write them a check. Right? No, that's not how it works. So, yeah, I get it. There are people that operate by taking advantage. And again, that's capitalism as well. That's money as well. And I want to make sure that you are clear that money, needing money or money is not the root of evil. It is when you love and lust for it, when you will do anything to get it, that you will abandon your moral center, that you will abandon your standard of life and living. You will abandon your ethics just to have money in your pocket. One of the things I believe, Culture Call, listen to me, that matters in life, I believe that to God. Now, this is a statement of my faith. It doesn't have to be yours. Doesn't have to be yours. I'm not judging you. It might come across as judgy, but it's not. So I want you to hear this. To me, to God, in my faith, to God, it matters how we get it. It just doesn't matter how we got it. I can't just get a thing by robbing and stealing and treating people wrong or being stingy and greedy and saying, oh, look at what my faith got me. No, absolutely not. To God, it matters how you got it. That's what morality says. That what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his sense of morality, lose his seat of morality, of right and wrong, of ethical behavior, of standard of living, of compassion? You got it, but who did you step on to get it? You got it, but who did you lie on to get it? You got it, but who did you steal it from? Right? So it matters to God, right? You're happy now, but who did you step on in your happiness for you to be happy? I'm just going to cut people off. I'm just going to do those behaviors that we think are so righteous, that are so the epitome of self-love and self-care, right? But how did you get it? How did you get it? That's the question. How did you get all of what you have? And if you can't go back and say, listen, and don't put the Lord on stuff. Don't put God on everything. God gave me this, my faith. No. You lied to get that. You lied to get that. Morality. God is not going to give you somebody else's wife, sir. Right? And if you get her, what did you do to get her? Is her husband dead? Huh? Did they divorce legally in terms of the state? Right? See, it's so easy to say things when we want what we want, because we want what we want when we want it. Teach in here. That's what I'm going to do. Come on. Yeah. We want what we want when we want it. And guess what? When that becomes the scale of our lives, when that becomes our focus, when that becomes the thing that we will do, which is anything to get what we want, our moral fiber and moral fabric is diminishing. It's fraying. It's declining. It matters how we get it. It matters how we treat people. It matters, and this whole idea is generational. We still have to treat children right and wrong. We do still have to teach our teenagers to respect authority, to respect our elders, right? We have a sense of human respect, right? That we do teach our young boys to open the doors for young ladies. We do. Yeah, chivalry is not dead. It's just a sense of respect. We do have to teach them to respect the teacher, right? And not curse the teacher out, and then they can call my mama, call my daddy. And then you come down there at the school and adding, and then the teacher's like, oh, okay, I see where they got it from. Right? I see there ain't no kind of behavior in your house. Right? That's the sense of things that we must begin to place back into our communities. Morals and values should not be confused with the conformity of religious beliefs, because you can do something in church and live a total different life in your house, in your community. That you can be the best alto, the best tenor, soprano in your church choir. You could be the church usher or the church deacon or the preacher. That's right. And you can preach heaven down and get to your house and then beat your wife and kids. Huh? And that, sir, that man is immoral. That you could talk to all of the sisters kindly. Sweetheart, darling, dear, honey, daughter. You can say all of that. But then when you get home and you treat your wife and show her no sense of endearment, come here, and call her out of her name. Sir, I don't care if you have a turn back holler and a cross and a sweet hoop in your throat. None of that means anything when you've lost a sense of morality. As a matter of fact, the text says that the person that does not know how to take care of their home is an infidel. You are committing an act of infidelity. Absolutely. And so we have to start addressing this moral behavior. Yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Oh, that's old hat. We don't do that no more. Why don't we? Why don't we? Why don't we show borders and boundaries? Why? You know, we used to do that. We don't do that anymore. We used to, in our community, we say, when they say, yeah, first of all, you could never answer your parents with yeah. You could never answer a grown person with yeah. Yeah. They would repeat it till you got it. Yeah. 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 Right? Trying to stimulate your righteous mind. See if you lost your mind or not. Right? Right? No, it was yes. And then we wouldn't stop at yes. We would say, yes, what? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. See, we were teaching a sense of respect. That's old hat. No. But see, we moved away from that. And now you see how our young people are turning out. You see what it is, right? That they will fight older people. That I'm talking about physically fight them. That they will go and steal from our senior citizens. That's a lack of morality because they're not being taught morality from little babies. They're not being taught because, again, we believe in gentle parenting. And listen, and when I say gentle parenting, I'm not talking about being able to have a conversations that lead to discipline, to get them to understand why we are doing this, why that there are steps and stages other than the belt and the broom and the switch, that there should be stages of development, stages of conversation and communication to gain an understanding before we get into those other harsher forms of discipline. Right. So I'm definitely not against that. But I believe that when they're able to talk to you any kind of way and you think it's cute when they 2 and 3. Oh, no, absolutely not. Because if you can say it incorrectly, guess what you can do? You can say it correctly. Am I right about it? I know I am. Absolutely. And that's right, Culture Call. If they can know when they're 2 and 3 years old, they should be able to know how to say it. The moment that they learn how to communicate their desires with language, then we need to begin to teach them about morality. That's what those little pops on the hands and pops on the hips were about, to say, no, this is not what we do in this house. This is not how you behave. You know why? Because they do it in your house and then they get outside and they go to school or they get in the store or they get into other places where they have to respect elders and authority and they don't know how to do it. Where did they get that from? Their own houses. That's where they got that from. That's where they got it from. Because we didn't put up any boundaries. We didn't put up any borders. We didn't say, hey, this is not what we do here. No, you're going to learn how to act. This is the part where it says train up a child in the way it should go. Not just in church, but in life. That training is life training. Part of my life is church. Part of my life is spirituality. But it's not the sum total of all of my life. Train them up. Train them how to keep their money. Train them how to be good stewards. Train them how to have good relationships. Train them how to have proper conflict resolutions. That they don't go out in the street and when they get mad, they just shoot somebody. Why? Because they said something to me crazy. Okay, so now you got a criminal record because you don't know how to communicate. All of that starts in the home. Morality begins there. What are you doing if they're hearing you use profanity in your house, then when they get to school in kindergarten, they're cussing at the teacher. They're using profanity at the teacher. And then the teacher calling you, and you're like, why did you say that? Now you're going to be shamed when your child said, well, I heard you say. Huh? Absolutely. See, this whole moral situation, I'm telling you, it's generational. It's passed from one generation to the next, right? And it's not whether you've got good religion. It does not mean that, because you can open your Bible. You can be a preacher, a teacher, an Indian chief. I don't know what position you might hold. Those things don't make you a moral individual, especially when immoral people gave you the position. There is no standard of morality when immoral people, immoral leadership gave you that position, right? So morality is how we hold ourselves to the standard of seeing each other as worth and valuable in God's image. That's what morality is. That's what morality is. When I will protect your daughter like I will protect my daughter. That if my daughter is safe around me, your daughter ought to be safe around me. I should not sexualize and make your daughter an object of objectify her body and her sexuality, because I don't do that to mine. You see, when you don't have respect for your own daughter, then when you're hitting on other girls, it does. See, again, there is no morality there. There is no boundaries there. I'm her protector. My daughters, I'm their protector. I'm their coverer. I'm their fighter. You mess with my daughter, you're going to have to answer to me. You're going to catch these hands. It's going to be more than just a conversation. And I got grown boys with me now, so I ain't fighting with myself. Me and their brothers going to have to come see you. And I got crazy brothers, right? So we're going to have to come see you. My oldest brother has all daughters and one son. No, my baby brother has one daughter. And all of us are like, hey, you make the phone call. We are on the street. I'm on the road to Charlotte. I'm on the road to Atlanta. And we go, listen, let's move some dirt, because what you're not going to do is disrespect our wives and our daughters. And you're not going to disrespect my sons. I'm their protector as well. See, that's moral. And I'm going to teach my sons how to be moral. Don't treat her bad. Don't call her out of her name. Huh? I'm not saying not to have moments of intense fellowship, right? Don't sexualize her. That's what fornication is. It's not just having sex out of wedlock. It is using sex as objectification. She's got something I want, and I'm going to use her for it. That's what fornication is. That's what biblical fornication is, right? It's not just having sex out of marriage, because marriage, the way we know it in this country, is different than other cultures. Everybody don't go down and get a license. That's not everybody in the world. They don't do marriage like that. So what we would say is, did you go to the altar? Did you get a ring? That's what we would say in our culture. But even in African culture, they didn't do that. And what about the times when our foreparents weren't even allowed to get marriage licenses? That's why you have this thing called jumping the broom. Jumping the broom was the way that we knew that you and that they were married. Absolutely. So they created cultural ritual to show the marriage right. And so, by our intents and purposes, they weren't married because they don't have anything from City Hall. They wasn't ratified like our thing was ratified, right? There's different cultures, so don't trip over that. What I'm saying is, so fornication in its pure sense is when you objectify a man and or a woman and to get what you want out of them, which is sexual gratification. That is fornication. That's what that is. You feel me? Right? That's what that is. And teach your sons to not use women like that. Teach your daughters not to use somebody's son like that. No, it's about teaching morality. Now, watch this. In our chocolate community, in our black community, we come to church. This is one of the reasons why we are strongly spiritual. We go to church religiously, routinely. This is why I taught it to my children, not because everything in church is all right, because we are an amalgamation of people coming from different experiences in life. And some days it's a good day, like the man saying, I've had good days. I've had some hills to climb. I won't complain. Right, I rearranged that song when I was in college in the Florida A&M University Gospel Choir. I did an arrangement of "I Won't Complain." Right, but the issue is all of us have good days and bad days, and sometimes that might rub off in our experience and our human reactions. Right, so I'm definitely not saying that as we deal with church from a cultural and a sociological perspective, that it's all perfect. Because we got to deal with people's attitudes sometimes, but we should all have respect. Here's what the book says. The book says that those who are strong ought to bear what? The infirmities or the weaknesses of the weak. It's my responsibility. I'm going to give you that same energy. Watch how you come to me, because you don't speak to me, I'm not going to speak to you. That's not good morality. You don't know what that person just went through. Right? You don't know what that person is going through. So you giving them the same energy solves what? And there's only one person being immoral in that situation, and that's you, because I'm going to give you that same energy. No, morality says, in spite of the energy you give me, I'm going to find out why you even coming in that way. Are you okay? How was your day? Everything all right at home? What's going on? I know something is going on because of the way you just said something to me. I said, good morning. You said, what's good about it? You gave me your attitude. And sometimes people don't even know that their emotions have shifted and changed their behavior. Some people just don't know it. And so they've got to be, they've got to be enlightened and elucidated to that reality and stop them and say, hey, wait a minute, come back. No, did you hear how you just said that? Don't do that. No, what's going on? Let me know what's happening. Right? And learn how to bear it. That means bear that you're having a moment of weakness right now, and it's my responsibility to bear it. Not bear it for you, but bear it with you. Because I know you're going through, but it's not for me to return the same energy, because now only one of us could be emotional. The other one is immoral. Let me try that one more time. Say that again. I think I will. I said one of us is being emotional. The other one is being immoral. When you return the energy back to somebody that's going through something emotional, no, that person is emotional. You, ma'am, you, sir, are immoral. Right. And see, we pick up a lot of these little phrases and colloquialisms from culture. I'm going to return the same thing. Well, I'm glad, I'm glad Jesus didn't do that. He said, Father, forgive them what? Because they don't know what they're doing. Something cognitively is off. They're not processing this thing the right way. See, we love to say it for him, but that him does that, the standard that we love to celebrate about him, that we'll celebrate this weekend in Palm Sunday and next week in Resurrection Sunday, the same thing that we shout and flip the church over and hold up service about, we won't apply and practice in our own lives. And we cannot do that. Again, somebody is emotional and the other person is immoral. Yes, I said it, and I'll double down on it. I will double down on it. My job is to maintain morality. Right? And it's not what would Jesus do? It is what would the Christ in me do now? Christ is not Jesus' last name. Christ is his position. It's the power, it's the authority, it's the unction on his life. Right? And so in the world, many people thought that he was Jesus, Bar Joseph, son of Joseph, Ben Joseph, right? Right? This is why, and I don't want to get into a theological discussion, but this is why it made a difference for when he was baptized in the Jordan that the father came saying, "This is my beloved son in whom I will please." Because before then, everybody thought that he was Joseph's son or Mary's illegitimate child, right? And they covered that up. Everybody didn't know the situation with Mary. We have the privilege because somebody wrote it down, but at that time, everybody didn't know. I digress. It's this whole idea that we try to create distantiation. What would Jesus do? You know what he would do. The issue is, would you do what he would do? Come closer. Don't turn it off yet. Turn it up louder. Tell somebody who you know need this. Call them right now and tell them. Yeah, the issue is not what would Jesus do? WWJD. No, what would you do? Now that we know what Jesus would do, would you do? Will you do what he did do? Huh? Will you follow the moral character and agency that he showed in the earth? Will you do right? Right? Will you beg people's pardon and forgive them? Or are you an energy returner? I'm going to give them back what they gave me. Really? You're functioning in a wrong series of human behavior. That's what I'm telling you. Because now you're making a choice. You're making a choice to add another burden on those who might be weak. You're making a cognitive choice. And that is not moral. It is not moral. Right? And then morality goes with ethics. Huh? That means, yes, I know what's right from wrong, but ethics says, how do I treat people? How do I show that ethically? Right? From a moral space, Jesus knew that the woman caught in the act of adultery, according to according to the Torah, according to their religious beliefs, she was wrong. But he acted not on morality. He acted ethically. He covered her. He got folks off of her. Where are your accusers? Wrote on the ground. All right. You who without sin, let him cast the first stone. And then he says, where are your accusers? Watch this ethics. He says, she says, I have none. He says, good. Neither do I. Go and sin no more. Ethical behavior. Because when he saw that she knew she did wrong, that was it for him. Okay, go and don't miss the mark anymore. Period. He functioned in morality, but he displayed it in his ethics. Right? His ethics was the thing that got the folks off of her back so that she could have a chance to live again. That was the point for her to continue living, because they were getting ready to kill her as a religious test. And Jesus said, oh, no, I'm not falling into this trap. Let me get rid of all of y'all first. Right? And then he dealt with her. And this is what it means to be moral. That we're not just beating people down and sending folks to hell and putting them in prison and all that without understanding their journey of life. Yes, indeed. Listen, this is your boy, L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3, your inspiration station. Keep it right here. There's more to come. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Listen, we are having a major conversation today, and it's my prayer that it is really resonating with you, that how can we build a moral community, or better yet, rebuild a moral community. And I think that's very important. And so for the last few moments of the show, I want to really stretch us a little bit. I want to make sure that we're coming into a very clear place, a place of light, a place of understanding. And I know that I've talked a lot about on the show this morning. I've talked a lot about morality, and, you know, I've talked a lot about ethics and what this country, the basis foundation of this country, from not just a political perspective, but I wanted you to understand and come into the knowledge that we have a responsibility, that if we're going to continue to live in this country, we've got to do it from a sense of knowing, of knowing how to treat really one another. I mean, this is just bottom line base ethics. Bottom line base ethics. I know what is right and wrong, morality. But watch this. Ethics says I must add respect to my morality. Yeah, I know there are things that we should and shouldn't do, but that does not give me the right, ethically, to treat people as if they're less than human. I should be able to stand back and say, yes, what you did is wrong. What you did is morally wrong. But ethically, I give them another opportunity to live. I give them another opportunity because guess what? You know, the text says that we need to be smarter. That every civilization, every community, every nation, whatever, has its own laws that adjudicates not ethics but morality, right? If you know that the country or the place in which you live says that if you get caught murdering somebody, depending on what those circumstances are, that it's first degree murder and that's going to have the death penalty because that's what they have ratified in that particular state, because not every state, let me say it again, not every state has the death penalty, right? right? The death penalty is extreme. Now watch this. See, if you understand the origins of the death penalty, that's in a racist society as well, because they were trying to adjudicate very harshly on the enslaved, all that. Listen, I don't want to even go down that because listen, I would need another 2 hours to talk about that show, right? That how they constructed a whole lot of laws to put penalties on blacks and minorities that they wouldn't put on themselves. Because you know, and I know, that if we had done a modicum of what Donald Trump did, all of us, we would be trying to find out how to get out from jail already. Let's talk about it on apples to apples. You know, if former President Barack Obama was in that same position, and listen, the courts wouldn't have sided with him. Supreme Court would not have. No, none of these judicial municipalities would have sided with him. He would be in jail. Michelle and the girls would be coming to visit him through bars while he adjudicated all of 90 plus indictments? No, sir. The average person doesn't get that. So we can see that justice in this country is not moral, neither is it ethical, right? And yet they call it justice. No, and they say justice is blind. No, says she peeking. She peeking up under that blindfold to see who the individual is. And to tell you the truth, the more money you have in this country, you could buy justice. It doesn't always work that way for black and brown people. It does not. I think the person who got away with the most was O.J. Simpson. And he's still living in a place now where he's never going to be adjudicated or exonerated. He's never going to be exonerated. No, that is going to be the scarlet letter on his chest until he goes into the deep sleep, period. And so that's the reality. And so if you know that, then there's certain choices you can't make. If you know that in this state, selling drugs, talking about morality and ethics, right? If you know that justice is supposed to be blind, but it's not, then if you do that and get caught, we're not going out there to talk about free Raheem, free Takesha. No, Takesha was found with kilos in her car. Raheem was found with a meth lab. Okay, we can pray, but we are subjected to the laws of the land as well, right? It's amazing how we know we got friends and cousins and stuff and folks like that, nieces and nephews that do wrong, brothers and sisters, and then they get caught. We know they were doing wrong. We know they were doing wrong because we ain't say nothing about it. And then they get caught. Then you get mad at the police, and they were doing wrong. They were doing wrong. That's not no. Let's have the conversation beforehand. That's not a black against white conversation. That is a conversation of did you do it? Yes. But they adjudicate the black man. Okay, do you know that? You knew that while you were doing it. Come on. You knew it while you were doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray that God preserves you through the process of adjudication. Right? Because that's moral and that's ethical. That you have to respect the laws of the land. If you ain't going to live in no other country, that means that you have decided as a citizen of this country, come closer, to abide by the laws of this land. If you know the laws are skewed based upon money and race and class, then that you can't use as your argument, I did this or I did that, and now, no, you can't conflate arguments. This is why we've got to teach our generation about morality and teach them about consequence and teach them about penalty. That let's not just use the excuse of racial context. Listen, every day I believe in it. I've studied it. I understand the institution of white supremacy. I understand the institutions of racism. I understand all of those different kinds of things. But what we're talking about today is that if you know that was something that my grandmother taught, that if you know that it's different for you as a black boy, then why would you go out there and do the same thing as if you're expecting a different outcome? You already know it's different for you. And I don't think we teach that as much as we should, because there is, come closer, y'all, a difference, right? There is a difference in how the law is adjudicated. There is a difference in a traffic stop for a white individual and a traffic stop for a black individual. And if we act as if that is not true, then we are sorely blinded. We are totally disconnected from the reality of I'm not talking about what was going on in the 50s and the 60s. I'm talking about this is 2024, and we're still having law adjudicated in the streets by police people. Right? And that is not to the discouragement of all law enforcement. No, But we want you to protect and serve everybody and give them the same level of respect when you are, yeah, absolutely. As if when you see somebody, white and affluent walk up in a courtroom with no handcuffs, and I do the same thing, and I'm black and I got an orange suit with handcuffs on my legs and on my feet and on my hands. See, that's different. That's different. And if we know that is different, then let's not put ourselves, don't get quiet now, y'all. Let's not put ourselves in a place to where we fall into the hands of an unjust, immoral system, because we already know it is. We already know it is. Let me say it again. We already know it is, and we have to teach that to our children and hold them to a standard. Why I can't do what they do? Why I can't? Okay, I'll tell you what. Why you can't do what they do. Look in the mirror, sir. Little baby, look in the mirror. Right? I keep telling y'all this country has struggled inherently from its inception with morality and ethics. And it is never regarded everyone as all men are created equal. Because look at how they treat all men. This is not rocket science, beloved. This is for you to gain some understanding of why you have to affirm and set your moral compass, not just for yourself, but for your children and your children's children. And those of you who are a younger sort, millennials and the generations after that, listen, hear me. That I know that we're in the age of moral, emotional, and mental, psychological deconstruction of some things of how we felt like our parents treated us and things that we didn't get and whatever. But you better understand this, especially if you're black. Hear me. You are living in a society that you can see now is getting increasingly worse. Do you know that the presidential candidate, read Project 2025, what they plan to institute? Look at what they're doing, wiping out DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that they're silencing the history of African Americans specifically. Right? That's not to prove that we are all one. No, they don't want their grandchildren and their children and their great grandkids feeling bad about what they did. They don't want it taught because it's getting close. So those people who were in 1950s and 1960s are still alive. There are people that celebrated the death of Martin Luther King that were teenagers. Guess what? That are still alive now. That are in positions and places of power. Their pictures were taken. All of that. It's in the history books. And they don't want the history books taught because they don't want to show historically they have a lack of morality, that they're unrepentant, that they have not changed. They don't want anybody to see that. It's not because they want everybody to live in a unified community of equal morals and justice and morality. Absolutely not. It is so they can hide and erase the fingerprints from their hands of being on the evil and the wickedness that has happened in this country. Let's call a thing a thing. Absolutely. And so we got to teach our kids, if you see this going on, pay attention. That's why we put restraints on you. That's why you have a curfew of what time you got to come home. That's why I say whose friends you can have. That's why I set boundaries for you. That's why I say that person is not a good influence for your life. That's why we tell you all of these things, not because we're trying to control you, but we're trying to build a moral community. I'm trying not to get you caught in the snafu of you going out there thinking that the rules don't apply to you simply because you want to do something. I don't need you to forget that the rules, yes, are different. I don't care how many people say that they're the same. The rules are different. And you need to teach them a different level of a sense of moral values and ethics and respect. You need to teach them how to walk away and live for another day and control their emotions. You need to talk about emotional intelligence. You need to talk about how not to let their anger get control. Yes, you're going to get angry, but the whole idea is sin not. That your anger does not have to lead you down the road of incarceration because you just had to defend your name. Listen, your mama, and now you done killed somebody. I'm still here worrying about my child. Your mama is out of jail worrying about her son who's defending her name. It's just, listen, it didn't affect you. You got to talk to your children about morals and ethics and respect so that they can pass it on to their children and not having conjugal visits while they're in jail, but they can live how God has ordained and designed them to live. Absolutely. They can live to fight another day. That's right. They can do that. Listen, I see the runway, but we are building a moral community. I'm about to land this plane on the Culture Call. Yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on your inspiration station, Praise 93.3. Got a little bit more to go. Keep it locked right here. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back. We've had a wonderful day, y'all. We have had a powerful conversation today. Like my friend says, we have had a conversation today. Absolutely. Talking about building a moral community. I want us to make sure that we are understanding that, yes, that as black and brown people, we have to function from a different level of morals and ethics. We've always had to. That the God and the moral center of those who were conducting the boats, who were the captains on top of the ship, were different, totally different, polarly different than those who were crunched up as cargo and beneath the ship. And the moment we think that that difference has evaporated or there has been any erasure in that is the moment where we will begin to decline even in our own communities. And so we've got to come up with an understanding of conduct and concept that we will one day pass to our children. I hope that those of us who have children and one day will have grandchildren and who have great-grandchildren have the responsibility and that we work together as a village and as a community. See, this is a part of it. You know, it says it takes a village to raise a child. This is the part of the village. Our village is not our biological family. Our village is not just our biological family, rather. Our villages encompass all of those around us who want to see us do better, who want to see us do greater. My parents pushed me, and they were fortunate to push their grandchildren, my children, right? My grandparents pushed me as well, pushed her children and their children, and pushed us as well, right? And they were able to meet their great-grandchildren. And see, so we have generations alive. And we have an obligation, we have to have a sense of obligation to instill morality and instill ethics, right? Not just Sunday morning, go to church kind of morality. Not that ethic and not that doing right that just lasts from Sunday from Sunday school to, 1 at the benediction, but a life of morality, a moral life, an ethical life. That's what's going to make the difference. And you can look at it. It is so blatantly alive and so blatantly, visible today that there is a lack of ethics and morals in the world and even in our community. First of all, we got to stop calling it cute. There is no art to that. There is no aesthetic to that, right? That when our children don't respect, don't honor, don't have to know how to treat elders, let alone each other. When we say that, that's not old hat. Stop putting so many things in the past. Some things are to be a continuum. We have to continue to garner the continuity of that, because guess what? Our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren inherit our morality and our ethics. Yes, some things they will make better, but they should not be living without the roots of morality, because those things will come back to bite them. In a world filled with money and capitalism, they'll find themselves in a worse state than we have had to walk through. Yeah, so we must build a moral community. Listen, at the end of every phone call, my grandmama and my mama used to say, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. This is your boy, Bishop L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3 FM. My prayer is that you have a great day. Yeah, go out and get some sunlight, treat everybody right, love intentionally, and do good as much as you possibly can. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.